I was born with big breasts and a naturally seductive figure. But Ethan didn't like it. He said a slender, delicate frame was the mark of true elegance. My body made me look like one of the girls at the Velvet Lounge. So I ate nothing but steamed vegetables and choked down weight, lost shakes until I threw up. Bowl after bowl, just so he would stop looking at me with disgust. While delivering a handmade embroidered handkerchief to him, I overheard him answering his friend's teasing. Lila Montgomery. No matter how much weight she loses, she stays curvy. How could someone like that ever be the dignified mistress of a proper household? Her half-sister Sophie has that frail, willowy figure I want most. I've been in love with her for 5 years. I plan to propose in a few days. As for Lila, if Sophie doesn't mind, she can be my mistress. It suits her perfectly. His friend was stunned. Wait, aren't you two promised by both families? Plus she is the legitimate daughter. How can she become a concubine? Ethan scoffed. The arrangement was between the two families. It never specified Lila. She is the one who has been chasing me all these years. I'll simply change the bride. Whether she becomes a mistress or not isn't up to her. The entire city knows she is crazy about me. She won't marry anyone else, and no one dares to marry her anyway. Outside the door, my chest felt like it was being squeezed by acid and stone. Lily, go home and tell my parents I accept Marcus's proposal. Lily was shocked. Miss, didn't you say you would never agree? You haven't even met Mr. Marcus. Isn't this too sudden? What if you regret it? I didn't know if I would regret it. I only knew my heart hurt so much. I could barely breathe. I staggered out of the upscale lounge with Ethan's cruel words ringing in my ears. Everything I had done for him was a joke. No matter how hard I tried to shrink myself into his perfect woman, he still saw me as a lounge girl. It turned out Sophie was the one he truly loved. Then what the hell had all my years of effort been for? The handkerchiefs I gave him, the gifts, the nights I went to bed hungry. What were they worth? My heart swelled with bitter pain. I leaned against the lounge door, gasping, unable to draw air. Lily saw me struggling to breathe and turned deathly pale. Mrs. She sobbed. Wait here, I'll get a doctor. I fought for air but couldn't get any. My scalp went numb. My limbs turned to jelly. I clung to the doorframe as darkness swallowed me. Then suddenly my body felt weightless. Someone lifted me gently. Wind rushed past my ears. I managed one small breath. It wasn't enough. The suffocating darkness closed in again, and I knew nothing. Inside the private VIP room of the lounge, Ethan took a sip of 100-flower wine. He was thinking about how Sophie had accidentally fallen into his arms the other day. So fragile, so shy. The memory made his chest itch pleasantly and his lips curve. He wasn't joking about proposing soon. He had waited long enough. Suddenly his friend Ryan shouted, who Ethan walked to the window with lazy interest. He saw Marcus sprinting with a woman in his arms. Her goose, yellow dress looked familiar, but he couldn't place it. Whatever. He had never seen his usually ice cold uncle act like this. He wanted to watch every second. This could only mean one thing. His uncle was about to get married. He would run home and tell his grandparents immediately. They had worried about Marcus for years. This was the perfect chance to push for a wedding. With that thought, Ethan finished his drink. Ryan, I need to get back to the estate and tell everyone. Catch you later, his friends laughed. Go, go, Ethan whistled all the way to the carriage. He decided that while everyone was in a good mood, he would also tell them he planned to propose to Sophie. With her status as the illegitimate daughter, he would need their support. I don't know how long I was unconscious. The smell of medicine finally pulled me awake. I opened my eyes to see Lily wiping tears. When she saw me awake, her eyes lit up. Miss, I was terrified. When I brought the doctor back, you had already been delivered here to Dr. Reynolds. He said if you had arrived even a minute later, your life would have been in danger. My throat was dry. I rasped, who brought me here? Did you thank them properly? Lily's face turned red. It was an extremely handsome gentleman, but he had such a heavy, dangerous aura that no one dared get close. I tried to give him money. He refused and left before I could ask his name. I felt relieved. After I recovered, we returned to the Montgomery mansion. The moment we stepped through the gates, we ran straight into Sophie and her maid. Her waist was so tiny, it looked like it could snap. The soft slope of her shoulders and elegant line of her back made her look like living art. I knew this was the willow in the wind look every man in New York adored. I just hadn't known Ethan had already fallen for her. The dense pain in my chest made me grip my skirt hard. Sophie walked over with false concern. Sister, has your old illness returned? Her eyes flicked to my chest, and her tone turned vicious. Sister, you really should listen to people. All that extra flesh on your chest makes it hard to breathe. The way it heaves when you are gasping for air makes you look exactly like the headliner at the Velvet Lounge. So seductive. But seduction might earn you a living there. In high society, it is just shameful. If everyone didn't know you came from our mother's womb, they would swear you crawled out of a brothel. No wonder no matter what you do, Ethan still doesn't like you. I froze. Although she was the illegitimate daughter, I had never mistreated her. I shared everything good with her and brought her to every event. She had never spoken to me like this before. Clearly Ethan had already told her everything. Now that she was about to become the future Mrs. Harrington, she didn't feel like pretending anymore. My hand moved faster than my brain. Slap, a crisp smack landed on Sophie's face. 5 clear fingerprints bloomed on her cheek. She clutched her face, eyes blazing with fury. You dare hit me. You are going to regret this in a few days. He looked at her coldly. You said, in a few days, so let's talk then. Since you stopped pretending, fine. All the kindness I showed you before was obviously wasted on a dog. Just like Ethan, I turned and walked away. Behind me, Sophie stamped her foot in rage. Chapter 6. I went to find my mother. She was trimming roses. Starling, you are back. Why do you look so angry? Was it Ethan again? Just hearing his name made my heart stutter. I didn't answer. I sat beside her and asked directly, Mother, have you met Marcus Harrington? You said he proposed. Is it too late for me to accept? Mother's shears clattered to the ground. What? You want to marry Marcus? Weren't you desperate to marry Ethan? Why the sudden change? You've been dieting and learning embroidery for him? How can you switch just like that? I didn't want to tell her the real reason. She had never thought my figure was a problem. She had even stopped me when I tried to survive on steamed vegetables and diet shakes. Lila, a woman doesn't have to be bone thin to be beautiful. You are my daughter. We stand behind the Montgomery name. You don't need to twist twist yourself into knots for any man. A woman shouldn't place all her happiness in a man's hands. You should please yourself, not others. Besides, you are not fat. You simply have the kind of body that has curves where a woman should. There is nothing wrong with that. I had been too young and too in love with Ethan to listen. Whatever he disliked, I stopped doing. Whatever he liked, I forced myself to become. Now I finally understood my mother had been right all along. I had fallen too deep. I thought the family arrangement meant we were destined. Ethan's words today had slapped me awake. The arrangement had been between the families. It had never named me specifically. From beginning to end, I had been the only one in love for all these years. Mother, I won't diet anymore. She pulled me into her arms, eyes full of heartache. Don't worry, we'll handle the marriage. When your father returns from the Senate, I'll speak with him. I nodded and sniffed. After dinner, I returned to my courtyard. Seeing the unfinished handkerchief on the table made my heart ache. I picked it up and threw it to Lily. Throw away everything I prepared for Ethan. Everything he ever gave me too. Lily hesitated. Miss Ethan never gave you anything.
So he had never given me a single thing. Everything I did for him really had been laughable. The next day I slept in for the first time in years. No longer caring about Ethan's preferences, I ate a proper breakfast and slept dreamlessly. While Lily combed my hair, she stammered, "Miss, Ethan is in the main hall right now. He brought engagement gifts for the second young miss." She slapped herself. "I'm sorry, miss, I shouldn't have said," grabbed her hand, face calm. "It's fine, I would have found out anyway. Help me get ready, I want to go out." Lily looked at me with pity and quickly finished my hair. When I reached the main hall, Ethan was still there. So were my parents, Sophie and her mother. Looking at the 5 sets of lavish gifts, I narrowed my eyes. Ethan approached without a trace of guilt. "Leela, you're here. Today I've come to propose to Sophie as my lawful wife. But don't worry, in 1 month I'll take you as my official mistress. I'll take care of you for life. Sophie isn't petty, she's already agreed." I looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. After all these years, the greatest favour he could grant me was the position of mistress, and even that was only with Sophie's permission. "Mr. Harrington, that won't be necessary. I will not be your mistress, nor will I marry you." Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. "What do you mean? Why are you suddenly so cold? Who else could you possibly marry?" Mother stepped forward. "Mr. Harrington, since you and Sophie are now officially engaged, you no longer need to concern yourself with who my daughter will marry in the future. Her marriage has already been arranged." Mother's words silenced the entire room. Even Sophie was stunned. "Sister, when did you get engaged? Weren't you still clinging to Ethan yesterday? Did you sleep with someone last night and have to rush into marriage?" I couldn't hold back. I slapped her again. "Slap, I never left the house last night. Which eyes of yours saw me sleeping with anyone? Say another filthy word and I'll rip your mouth apart." Ethan and the others were shocked. Sophie still tried to slander me head high. "I slap, you slap," 3 slaps in a row. My palm burned. It was the first time I had ever hit anyone. Even I was dazed. Ethan quickly pulled the trembling Sophie into his arms and glared at me with fury. "Leela Montgomery, when did you become so vulgar? How dare you slap Sophie in front of me? Thank God I'm not marrying you. You really are unfit to be a proper wife. You only deserve to be a mistress. Apologize to Sophie right now or I won't even give you the mistress position." Father roared. "Ethan Harrington, watch your tongue. Speak one more disrespectful word and I will have you thrown out." Mother's face was thunderous. "Mr. Harrington, I have already said my daughter is engaged. How dare you repeatedly suggest she become a mistress? If the Harrington family cannot discipline their son, I don't mind doing it for them." A deep, resonant voice came from behind. "Disciplining Ethan doesn't require dirtying Mrs. Montgomery's hands." A man in a dark tailored suit stepped into view. His features were sharp as a blade, his gaze cold as frost. He lifted his foot and kicked Ethan hard behind the knee. "Kneel, apologize to Leela." Ethan crashed to his knees, face flushed crimson. Both my parents' eyes brightened. "Marcus," I looked up at him. So this was Marcus Harrington. He didn't look old at all. He seemed only 2 or 3 years older than Ethan. Sophie cried and threw herself over Ethan, heartbroken. "Ethan, are you okay? Who is this man? How dare he hit you?" Ethan glanced at Marcus, angry but afraid to speak. Through gritted teeth he said, "This is my third uncle, the most powerful man in Washington, Marcus Harrington." Sophie and her mother froze instantly. Lily whispered excitedly in my ear, "Miss, he's the one who carried you to the doctor that day." I was stunned. He had saved my life. Marcus kept his icy expression fixed on Ethan. Ethan swallowed his pride and forced out 3 words. "I'm sorry." Only then did Marcus walk to me. A flicker of almost invisible tenderness crossed his face. "Miss Montgomery, are you satisfied? If not, I'll make him continue." I waved my hands quickly. "It's enough," stood up still arrogant. "Uncle, why are you at the Montgomery mansion today? I didn't know you were close with them. And why did you hit me the moment you arrived, all for an outsider?" Marcus turned, motioned for him to look behind and said calmly, "I'm here to propose marriage." Everyone turned. Behind Marcus were 20 lavish gift boxes and a pair of symbolic white doves. Ethan and Sophie looked like they had been struck by lightning. Jealousy flashed in Sophie and her mother's eyes. Ethan had only brought 5 sets of gifts. Marcus had brought 20. I was surprised too. I had only told Mother yesterday. I hadn't expected him to come today. Ethan asked in confusion, "Uncle, who are you proposing to? It can't be Sophie, right? She's already promised to me." Marcus looked at him like he was an idiot, then glanced at Sophie. "A woman like that is treasure only in your eyes. I have no interest. I am here to propose to Leela." Boom. Everyone except my parents and me stood frozen. Ethan whipped his head toward me, eyes full of shock, disbelief and a trace of fear. His voice cracked. How is that possible? Uncle, you must be mistaken. I don't remember you ever meeting Leela. You've been traveling and working in Washington. How could you possibly know her? Uncle, please stop joking. I never plan to let Leela go, even if I can't give her the position of legal wife. Ethan, let me answer your questions. Not joking. You cannot marry her as your legal wife, but I can. She is the woman I love. Ethan stood there like a statue. When he finally reacted, he staggered and nearly fell. Sophie caught him, tears streaming. "Ethan, what's wrong? Don't scare me." He shoved her away violently. "Get out, don't touch me." Sophie fell. Her mother rushed to help her up. Sophie cried pitifully, "Mother, Ethan realized what he had done and pulled her back, apologizing. "Sorry, I lost control." Sophie looked up at him with teary, delicate eyes. Then promise you won't treat me like that again. Ethan looked at me and gave a half-hearted nod. And suddenly my view was blocked. Marcus stepped between us, looking down at me. Don't look, you'll get needle eyes. Then he turned to my father, bowed respectfully. Senator Montgomery, let's discuss feuding details. Please point out anything that doesn't suit you. I will change it immediately. Wedding was set for the 1st of next month. When Ethan left, he kept staring at me, still unable to believe I would marry his uncle. Leela Montgomery, when exactly did you get involved with my uncle? Have you stopped wanting to marry me? If you regret it and break the engagement, I will still marry you. I cut him off impatiently. I am the legitimate daughter of the Montgomery family. I already said I will not be anyone's mistress. Are you deaf? At least your uncle would never offer me such a humiliating position. Ethan, everything good I ever did for you, consider it fed to the dogs. From now on I am your aunt, remember your place. A flash of unwillingness crossed his face. Leela, I know you're angry with me, that's why you're saying you'll marry my uncle. But marriage isn't a game. You'll regret rushing into this. You've loved me for so long, you don't have to marry someone else. I'm not refusing you. I just can't give you the legal wife position. I watched his mouth open and close and felt nothing but disgust. The man I once loved now made me sick. Ethan, I have never found you so repulsive. I beg you, stop saying these things to me. I have known your uncle for less than a day and he is already 1,000 times better than you. Why do you think I would throw away the position of legal wife to become your mistress? Wake up, I really don't love you anymore. Ethan grabbed my wrist. Leela, then I'll give you the legal wife position. Before he could finish, he was suddenly sent flying. He slammed into the ground, clutching his waist and groaning. Who the foo, uncle? Why did you hit me again? Marcus stood in front of me again, blocking Ethan's sight. He looked at his nephew with ice-cold eyes. If you weren't my nephew, you would already be a corpse. Leela has made herself very clear. She no longer loves you and will never be your mistress. Since you cannot give her what she wants, you should have the decency to disappear. Grabbing her like this is disgraceful. You didn't cherish her when you had her. Who are you performing this deep affection for now? She is now your aunt and has nothing more to do with you. If you harass her again, I don't mind telling your father, you know what the consequences will be. Ethan struggled to his feet, eyes blazing with anger. Uncle, I met Leela first. She loved me first. You don't even know her. You don't know what she likes to eat, what color dresses she likes to wear you. She loves the chocolate croissants from the bakery on Madison Avenue. She loves wearing soft yellow dresses. She loves sleeping in, hates steamed vegetables and despises weight loss shakes. She once loved a man, but it was only youthful ignorance. That man broke her heart and lost her. From now on their marriage paths will never cross again. Both Ethan and I froze. He knew me far too well. Ethan nearly collapsed against the doorframe. Uncle, how can you know Leela so well? Marcus turned to me. His deep eyes reflected my face. Because I met her long before you did. He never explained exactly when he had met me, no matter how many times Ethan asked. Ethan left in a daze, looking back at me every few steps, only to be blocked by Marcus each time. If Sophie had been there, she would have cried again. Once Ethan's carriage finally disappeared around the corner, Marcus looked at me. During this time, do not see him. After the wedding, we will not live at the Harrington estate. The president previously granted me a private mansion. We will move there. The entire household will be under your control. No one will restrict you. You can finally be yourself without worry. I looked up at him, eyes sparkling with joy. Is that true? The offer was incredibly tempting. What young woman wouldn't want to run her own household without in-laws and endless rules? He stared at me for a long moment before nodding. Of course it's true. It will be a little inconvenient for the first few days while the new house is cleaned and aired out. I shook my head vigorously. Not inconvenient at all. In the following days, Marcus often came to discuss wedding details with my father. He always carried a quiet anticipation, his eyes drifting toward my courtyard. He didn't ask me out too frequently, but whenever it was appropriate he took me to see lantern festivals or stroll through the streets. Sophie was not so lucky. Ethan never came once. All arrangements were handled by an old nanny from the Harrington family. On the wedding day, Sophie and I left our homes at the same time. Unlike Marcus, who could barely hide his excitement, Ethan looked utterly defeated. When Marcus helped me into the bridal carriage, Ethan's face turned so dark it looked like it might drip water. He didn't even help Sophie. He simply mounted his horse and galloped away. An uncle and nephew marrying daughters of the Montgomery family on the same day became the talk of the town, but within the Harrington family, the lord and lady were extremely dissatisfied with Sophie. After all, she was illegitimate. They also resented Ethan for letting the legitimate daughter slip away to his uncle. Their faces during the ceremony were ugly. None of that had anything to do with me anymore. That night I sat on the wedding bed waiting for Marcus. I thought he would come back drunk, but the door opened in less than 15 minutes. Lily saw him and quickly excused herself. The bridal veil was lifted. His face was slightly flushed but still devastatingly handsome. The dangerous aura around him had softened. Why are you back so quickly? He sat beside me, staring at me with infatuated eyes. You don't know anyone here and it's your first time away from home. How could I bear to make you wait so long? Besides, I really couldn't wait any longer. After all, I have waited 6 years. I was shocked. 6 years, he chuckled softly. Is that so surprising? Don't worry, our story isn't some cliché where I saved you and fell in love at first sight. Although you did save someone, just not me. You funded a school for poor children and often went to teach classes. That's when I fell for you. I wanted to propose immediately, but I learned you were completely in love with Ethan. Then the family arrangement was announced, so I stepped back. I travelled for 3 years and served overseas for another 3. When I returned, I heard Ethan actually loved your half-sister. At that moment I knew my chance had come. I proposed immediately. Even though you didn't accept right away, I knew you would eventually because I knew Ethan would disappoint you. I felt dazed, but a sweet warmth bloomed in my chest. For the first time I realized that even after being rejected and scorned by Ethan, someone had loved me so deeply all this time. He picked up the ceremonial wine and handed it to me. Leela, my wife, I came too late and let you suffer. If I had known how much of bastard Ethan was, I never would have stepped aside. I would have taken you directly. But don't worry, no one will ever hurt you again, not even me. My eyes grew hot. Husband, I don't really care, but does my figure truly not bother you? His gaze dropped to my chest. His ears and face turned red. How could I possibly dislike it? Other men don't understand the beauty and pleasure of a body like yours. They mistake ribs for treasure. I'm different. Other women don't interest me, but you feel like a gift from heaven. He didn't say anything more. He drank the wine in one gulp. I followed. Before the burn left my throat, Marcus kissed me. Soft lips met mine. My whole body tingled. He kissed me deeply, forcefully, like an experienced lover. Then he asked hoarsely, "Wife, I have no experience. I've only seen some illustrations. If I do it wrong, please don't blame me." Before I could respond, he lifted me onto the wedding bed. His body covered mine. His eyes darkened with desire as he began a clumsy but dominant conquest, one night of passion. After 6 rounds, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I didn't even feel it when Head gently wiped me clean. Ethan stood in the pavilion, staring at Marcus's courtyard. The bright red wedding characters made his eyes sting. His chest felt sour and swollen. He had never truly liked Leela. He had always disliked her full figure. Yet seeing her shy and blushing in front of Marcus made him burn with rage. It felt like his possession had been stolen, something he could never get back. The sour swelling in his heart turned into a hollow emptiness that nothing could fill. When the maids carried fresh water in and out 6 times, his eyes turned bloodshot. Was she really that insatiable? 6 times in one night. What did she look like right now? What faces was she making for Marcus? Ethan kept imagining it. He wanted to storm into the courtyard and drag Leela back into his arms. His head spun. The last shred of sanity stopped him. His limbs felt like they were filled with lead. It hurt so much. He didn't know how to fill the hole in his chest. A trembling servant asked, "Young master, your wife has been waiting all night. Dawn is almost here. Will you return?" Ethan looked at him blankly. "Wife? What wife? Did I get married?" "Leela married my uncle. I have a wife." The servant turned pale. "Young master, have you forgotten? You married the second young miss of the Montgomery family." Ethan laughed bitterly. "So I did get married. I married the wrong woman." Then he looked up. "I'm not going back. Take me to the study." Servant hesitated. "Leaving your bride alone on your wedding night will damage her reputation." Ethan snapped impatiently. "Then let it be damaged. If she's unhappy, she can divorce me. Then I can marry Leela." The next morning I rubbed my aching limbs while Lily told me excitedly, "Miss, that Sophie was left alone all night. The whole estate is gossiping about it." My mind was still full of the way Marcus had conquered me again and again. I only smiled lightly. "Is that so? She must feel very pitiful." Lily grinned. "They say her eyes were swollen this morning. I didn't care about her. Help me get ready. We still have to pay respects to the elders." Move to our new mansion was set for 5 days later, but we still had to serve tea to the in-laws on the first day. When I reached the main courtyard, I ran into Sophie. Just as Lily said, her eyes were red and swollen with dark circles underneath. In contrast, my skin glowed, my eyes sparkled. I looked thoroughly satisfied. We were from completely different worlds. Sophie twisted her handkerchief so hard it nearly tore. "Leela Montgomery, you're already married. Why are you still occupying Ethan's heart? You know he didn't step foot in our bridal chamber last night. Did you call him out? From the moment he picked you up, his eyes never left you." Slap. Before I could move, a slap landed on Sophie's face. Ethan had hit her. He looked at me, eyes darkening, and ordered Sophie, "I didn't go to the bridal chamber. It has nothing to do with her. Why are you spouting nonsense in front of the elders? Apologize to Leela." Sophie clutched her face, glaring at me with hatred, refusing to speak. The light in front of me dimmed as Marcus walked over. "Ethan, you apologize too. Leela is not someone you can call by her first name anymore. You should call her aunt." Ethan choked. His face turned ugly with unwillingness. Aunt." I said nothing. I had no desire to speak to him. Sophie's face flushed purple with rage. The matter wasn't over. When we served tea inside, my in-laws accepted me cup with warm smiles. But when Sophie knelt and offered hers with shaking hands, the lord refused to take it. The lady's face was icy. "I heard you shouting vulgar things outside earlier. Sure enough, a daughter raised by a concubine has no manners. We will not drink this tea. Go kneel in the ancestral hall. Let Nanny Zhang teach you proper etiquette so you don't embarrass the Harrington family in the future." Sophie's hand trembled. The cup fell and shattered. "Mother, I just got married and you're already sending me to kneel in the hall. How can I face people after this?" She looked at Ethan with tears in her eyes, but Ethan was looking at me. Her tears fell even harder. "Husband, say something." Ethan didn't even glance at her. He answered carelessly, "Mother is right. You're too unstable. Learn well." Sophie sat there dazed as she was dragged away. The lord and lady looked even more displeased and shook their heads. The small incident did not affect Marcus and me at all. He took me out to eat and enjoy the city. Sophie was forced to kneel for 3 full days and was only released on the day we returned to my parents' home. Marcus accompanied me. Sophie only had one maid. Ethan didn't show up at all. The maid complained bitterly, "Miss, I feel so bad for you. The young master hasn't visited you once. He spends every day at the Velvet Lounge and now he won't even come for the return visit. What will your parents think?" Sophie's face twisted with hatred. Then she saw Marcus helping me out of the carriage. Her handkerchief was shredded in her fist. "Leela Montgomery, why do you get such a perfect husband when you were the one Ethan didn't want?" Of course I didn't hear Sophie's words, or she would have received another slap. 2 days later, Marcus and I moved out of the Harrington estate. He gave me complete control of the household. I could sleep until the sun was high, and no one dared disturb me. Marcus was even afraid I would get tired and ordered the servants not to wake me. Nothing in the world was more important than my sleep. My days were blissful. Sophie, however, lived in hell. Not only did her in-laws dislike her, even my in-laws disliked her. Ethan rarely returned home, leaving her unprotected. He even took 3 new mistresses in a row, all of them curvy and looking like me. Sophie smashed things and screamed. Ethan only became more arrogant and took 2 more. When the last mistress became pregnant, Sophie and Ethan still had not consummated their marriage. The news spread across New York. Everyone laughed at her. In a fit of rage, Sophie kicked the pregnant mistress in the stomach and caused a miscarriage. Then, while Ethan was in the middle of the day with another mistress, Sophie grabbed a pair of scissors and charged in. Ethan's manhood was destroyed. The lord and lady fainted from shock. Sophie was locked in the woodshed. That day, the entire Harrington estate descended into chaos. When Lily told me the news with glee, I was drinking prenatal medicine. The doctor said the first 3 months were critical. Marcus wouldn't even let me lift a finger. So Ethan can never have children again, Lily laughed. Exactly, this is his karma. The whole city knows he's now a eunuch. I covered my mouth with a handkerchief and laughed. It really is karma. The end.